Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to two of my patrons, Drunken Gunslinger and IceApple23. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to episode 2. Last time, Silverleaf answered the call to adventure, taking on the task of killing the bandit king known as the Stag Lord and liberating the stolen lands. Unfortunately, things didn't go quite as planned. An army of assassins attacked the mansion, most of the aspiring heroes are dead, and Lady Jamandi herself is next on the hit list. Now Silverleaf and a ragtag group of survivors are poised at the entrance to the banquet hall, ready to rush in, confront the assassins, and hopefully save their patron in the process. We'll be getting to that in just a second, but first I should point out that we ended up losing our original save, due in large part to some unexpected behavior from the game's saving system. It's not that big a deal, I only ended up losing about 30 minutes worth of progress, but it does mean that there are some very minor changes between this episode and the last. Most notably, I made some very minor adjustments to our character build, so we have one extra spell now, and we actually ended up passing the athletics check in the Burning Hall. That means only Valerie is going to be exhausted going into the final fight, which will make things a little easier, but let's be honest here. We were never going to lose this fight anyway. This is still the prologue. They're pulling their punches until we actually get to the stolen lands. Anyway, let's get in there. Okay, so let's get a look at what we're dealing with here. Reinforcements are already on the way. Say your prayers, scum. Alright, it looks like Lady Jamandi and her associate, Esvanki Keeg, are locked in combat with a frost giant. They're also sealed inside some sort of force dome that's clearly being maintained by these rift channelers here. We obviously can't help Lady Jamandi with that frost giant, but we can try to take out all these assassins and get that barrier down. Let's set up some quick buffs first. We'll have Harem cast Bless.
Request.
Jamandi can cast Divine Favor. And Silverleaf will toss up a shield spell. Harem seems to be wandering off. Let's get him back with the rest of the party. We also seem to be getting some excessive pausing here. That's probably because of the fight between Jamandi and the Frost Giant. Okay, now we just need Silverleaf to use his mutagen. That grants him a significant boost to dexterity and armor class at the cost of a few points of wisdom. And I think we're ready to go.
I am yours to command.
We'll have our frontliners lead the charge.
Let us strike as one.
Adventures call to them.
Lindsay can cue the music.
I know what to do.
And we'll have Silverleaf soften up that assassin leader.
Time's wasting.
In fact, let's get Tartuccio on that too.
To victory!
Don't let them through. Jamandi dies tonight. Alright, let's see here. Let's get Lindsay up a little closer. We'll also have Silverleaf queue up another bomb, but we do need to be careful here. Those things still cause friendly fire until level 2. Alright, let's get another magic missile from Tartuccio. He might as well make himself useful. Communal protection from good. That's going to make things more difficult for about half our party. On the bright side, Amiri just showed up and she's not affected by that spell. Okay, we're about to engage the assassin leader, but let's see if I can get one more bomb in there. Whoops, looks like Amiri's too deadly for her own good. Let's retarget to one of those rift channelers. Come on, Valerie. Alright, we had some minor friendly fire, but we pretty much won this fight anyway. Alright, that's it. The assassins are dead, the barrier is down, and looks like Demandi took out that frost giant too. Good for her.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, let's search these bodies for clues, and then we'll have a chat with Lady Jamandi. Ooh, look at all this stuff. Don't think of it as looting bodies. That's distasteful. Think of it as confiscating enemy resources and repurposing them for the greater good. Just one or two more things, and then we can talk to Jamandi. First, let's take away Tartuccio's crossbow. He won't be needing that anymore. Oh, Jathal's also got her only breastplate, so let's swap her back into chainmail. And we'll just take off Tartuccio's ring for a moment. Call it Elven Intuition.
All according to plan.
An unheard of atrocity. Mark my words, we'll find out who was behind it.
Thank you for your valor and bravery. The enemy was strong, but you were stronger, and that means I made the right choice. Just as I thought, there were worthy leaders among you. I'm especially grateful to them for the courage and common sense they showed while defending the mansion. But this attack means we have even less time than I thought. Someone already knows of our plans and is acting against us. You'll begin your expedition immediately.
As Jamandi catches her breath, she looks over the trashed banquet hall and salutes the survivors.
Lady Aldori, please, I know who arranged this attack. The vile king of Pitax, Iroveti. What's more, I know who among us works for him. Hey, you! Show everyone the ring you're wearing. You think I wouldn't recognize Iroveti's seal? That's why he wasn't killed. The bandits recognized him as one of their own by this signet ring.
What ring? What are you talking about?
Lady Aldori, I saw it with my own eyes. The ring must be in his pocket. Search him and I'm sure...
Enough, Tartuccio. I'm still the one giving orders here. We won't be searching anyone. There's definitely a spy among us. But who? All I have is one word against another. I'm afraid you're both under suspicion.
I bet my life despises anyone but this man. I saw how he dealt with those creeps with my own eyes. A true warrior. I'd go with him through hell and high water. This purple crook, on the other hand... He's got the eyes of a spy, and the mug of a spy!
Lady Aldori, don't listen to this thick-headed barbarian. She doesn't know what she's talking about. During the attack, our leader showed his true colors. He forced us to break into the armory and rob it.
Forgive me my trespass. In my defense, we were in the middle of a battle and in dire need of weapons.
Considering the circumstances, that was more than reasonable.
That was a sound decision. Sometimes one must act at one's own risk and peril until crossing the boundaries of what is allowed. Showing initiative is no crime.
It is insane when faced with death to stop and question whether you may be breaking some law or rule. Even more insane would be to ask forgiveness for making the right decision. Sorry, but your words display a lack of wisdom.
What about that trick he pulled right before we came in here? He knew very well you were fighting the enemy, but instead of rushing to help you, he dallied as long as he could, dropping everything to save people from the fire, even though the guards were handling things just fine. He was obviously hoping to show up too late and find you already dead.
People were dying right in front of me. How could I just walk by?
Really, Tartuccio? You're seriously trying to blame someone for saving people from a fire?
May Shelyn spare me from ever having to make such a choice, but he behaved decently as a true leader.
A true leader is someone who has their priorities straight, not someone who would put a valuable ally's life in danger for the sake of some servant.
Enough squabbling. I'm still not sure which of you I can trust. However, the risk of entrusting the whole affair to a spy is too great. Here's what we'll do. 2 teams will head out. That way, I'll know at least one group can be counted on to serve my interests in the stolen lands.
Lady Aldori, most of those who were to set off for the stolen lands have been killed. Those who yet live will require help. Please allow me to join the expedition.
I'm sad to lose such a talented warrior. But you're right, Valerie. They have greater need of you right now. Go, and may Abadar keep you. Which of the 2 teams would you prefer to accompany?
If my leader allows, I would join his team. He seems a worthy commander in my eyes.
Commanders, military leaders, all these laws and rules are but dust and vanity. I suppose I will accompany Tartuccio.
Our leader is good in battle, but I don't like all the spiritual agonizing. I prefer those who can act without wasting time helping every little pipsqueak. Those like Tartuccio.
Ugh, Tartuccio's going to take the credit for himself and be done with it. Shelyn, spare me from such allies. I'm going with you. You're a hero worthy of my quill.
I don't even need to think. I'm coming with this man. As for you, Purple Toad, just wait until we meet along the way. I'll be sure to hang your rotten spine guts from the trees.
All right, we have 2 teams. To avoid unnecessary conflict on the road, you'll each take a different route to the stolen lands. Tartuccio's team will go through Navakta's crossing. The garrison commandant will provide him all the help he needs. You will take your team to Oleg Leviton's trading post. He's been complaining about the Stag Lord's bandits for a while now. There, you'll be provided with all the necessary travel supplies. I'd like to believe you, but I know all too well how convincing traitors and spies can be. If you're truly innocent, I hope you can forgive me this precaution. While you're away, Keston will investigate the night's events and learn who in Restov is working for Pitax. But you should know that it isn't just Pitax we need to worry about. The Royal House of Sertova may also interfere in our plans. I've managed to keep this affair a secret from them so far, but that can't last long. By my estimations, you have no more than 3 months. After that, any feats you accomplish will be pointless. And now, farewell. This battle was but the first ordeal along your path, and you overcame it as true champions of Restov. May the obstacles that follow also fall to your feet. Fear nothing, my friends, and return victorious.
Surviving a terrible night, our small team set off to brave our fate. Beware, stolen lands. Heroes are on the way.
Alright, our adventure begins in earnest. The prologue was just a glorified tutorial, but things will get a little more difficult from here on out. And this, of course, is our first look at the world map, though we don't really have much in the way of options at the moment. We just need to head west until we reach Oleg Leviton's trading post. Oh, looks like we just ran into something. Okay, looks like we're up against 3 thylacines. That's actually a little easier than the 3 wolves the beta threw at us, so we should be able to handle this pretty easily.
Tear them apart!
Yeah, that was a nice warm-up fight, before we get into the more serious stuff.
I tire.
Just in time, too. Looks like we're starting to get fatigued. I thought this was a pretty nice touch. Back in the beta, you just found pelts right in an animal's inventory, but now you actually have to pass a nature lore check to properly skin them. It's a small thing, but it does make the looting process a little more interesting. Though, of course, it doesn't always work out in your favor.
All according to plan.
Uh-oh. Okay, because Silverleaf is now fatigued, we're actually overloaded, which means we can't get back out to the world map. The game really wants us to set up camp here, but I'd rather do that once we're closer to Oleg, so let's go ahead and dump some of these lower value items so we can travel again. Okay, moving on.
We should gather our strength.
This is something else that's new to the release version. The game will actually warn you when your entire party is fatigued. You can keep traveling, of course, but it'll be at a slower rate of speed, and the game will warn you again once your party is exhausted. Those attribute penalties can make random encounters much more dangerous, so you'd normally want to camp about now. In this case, though, we know the road is safe, so we'll push on for now. There we go. Oleg's trading post. Of course, now half our party is exhausted, so let's go ahead and set up camp before we go in there. That way we can meet Oleg at our best. This, of course, gives us our first look at the camping interface, and it can be a bit daunting at first glance. You basically just need to match your party members to the jobs that they're best suited to accomplish. The game will try to do this for you, but sometimes you have to manually adjust things yourself, especially when you're not working with a full party or half your party is exhausted. Anyway, this should be sufficient, so let's get some rest. Looks like we failed our skill checks, but at least we're not exhausted anymore. We also get a temporary bonus to Valerie's armor class, which will come in handy if we end up running into trouble. Let's see what's waiting for us. Okay, let's have a look around. Save yourselves, fools! That certainly doesn't bode well. Let's see what's going on. The gate hinges are deformed and the deadbolt is broken. It seems someone didn't want this gate to close. Well, I can certainly see why Oleg was complaining about bandits. In the name of the Stag Lord, the lawful authority in the stolen lands, we demand this week's tax. And some beer. And where's that pretty wife of yours, Oleg? She should serve us dinner. Quiet down, dimwit. Oleg, we're just here for the Stag Lord's tax. Hand over the money and we'll be on our way. You want to drink some of my blood too? I'm sick of you. You're like locusts. You think you control everything around here just because you put up that painted rag of yours? You come here, squeeze us dry, and Oleg, a large man with a rough face, stops talking when he notices you. Ah, you must be guests from Rostov. What's going on here? Isn't it obvious? These thugs are robbing us honest settlers. They say they're taking some tax for their leader, the Stag Lord. Oleg spits. But I didn't swear allegiance to any Stag Lords. I pay my taxes to Rostov. But Rostov is so far away, Oleg, and the Stag Lord is so close. And as for you, the young, dark-haired woman squints angrily at you. Get out of here before it's too late. This is our land. We own it. Our duty is to protect the trading post. Don't waste your breath on scum like this. I'm not interested in bloodshed, but I won't let you rob this man. Be on your way and I'll let you go in peace. The woman smiles coldly. All right, we'll leave. But what makes you think we won't just return with greater numbers? Why would we leave when we've got easy pickings from Rostov before us? We'll rip out your guts and empty your pockets. Well, so much for diplomacy.
Enemy approaching.
Alright, so we're up against 3 generic bandits, and it looks like Cressel downed a potion of invisibility. I guess she decided to make herself scarce. Good thing, too, because we're about to mop the floor with these guys.
Let us strike as one!
We'll just make sure they can't get to Lindsay, queue up a few abilities, and this should be pretty quick.
Tear them apart!
Ooh, that's one down. Very messy. Looks like Oleg's helping too. Good for him. I guess we could toss out some spells. We will be resting soon. And it's over. Wow, we may have overdone it a little. We reduced 2 of these guys to bloody rib cages. Well, let's have a talk with Oleg. Take that, you scoundrels! Oleg shakes his fist. But now... He scratches his head and stares at the ground gloomily. The girl got away. A plague on her. She's certain to complain to the Stag Lord. They came before to collect taxes, but this time they'll come to punish treason. Now what are we to do? He sighs heavily. If only I could send Svetlana somewhere safe and show those rats what's what. He notices a fair-haired woman approach. Dove, why are you here? I told you to stay hidden. It's all over. I saw it. I just needed to be sure you were all right. The woman looks at her husband tenderly, if with a hint of sorrow. Oleg mumbles something as he looks away, embarrassed. My name is Svetlana. I'm sorry your arrival to our trading post turned out so unwelcoming. Let's get to the point. You say the bandits are going to attack again? Who are they, and when will they arrive? Oleg waves his hand sullenly. Who are they? They're the Stag Lord's gang, that's who. These lands teem with bandits like bedbugs in a beggar's hut, and you just stirred them up. They have a camp not far from here. I expect they'll return in full force in half a day, maybe less. The Stag Lord won't take an insult like this lightly, and his henchmen are more like demons than men. Tell me as much as you know. How many bandits are there? What do they want? What do they want? Those bloodsuckers think they own this land. They come, take what they want, and steal the better part of our money every month as a toll for their leader. They even broke our gate so we couldn't try to hide anything from them. No one knows exactly how many there are. Sometimes only 5 or 6 come, sometimes it's a whole gang. I'd have shown them what for long ago, if not for Svetlana. They claimed they were collecting taxes. Why? For the Stag Lord and his cronies, of course. That Stag Lord fancies himself a king in these parts. He may have antlers for a crown, but all the troublemakers around here are happy to follow his orders as long as they're paid. So they charge an arm and a leg as taxes, and they call their executions punishment for treason, even those who never swore allegiance to the Stag Lord. They're killed fast if they're lucky. If not... Oleg looks to Svetlana. Dove, why don't you go start supper while we finish our talk? I've no need to be protected from dark talk. I'm not some blind kitten, you know. I've seen what they do to people. Svetlana lowers her head. Most of the gang is made up of simple bandits, but there are a few monsters among the leadership, especially those close to the Stag Lord. Ox and Dovan from Nizrok come to mind. They like to make a show of their tortures and executions. My husband and I, we saw the bodies. You have nothing to fear. I'll help you deal with the attack. Well, I appreciate your good intentions. I may not have the best manners, but Oleg Levitin is the last name you'll hear accused of being ungrateful. If we manage to defend this post, I'll reward you proper. We have to hide Svetlana. Please don't argue, Dove. Now, we also need to decide on a plan. Go ahead and look around. There may be some tools that can be used for the battle. There are some pretty solid traps around, some tar, and a box of Alchemist's Fire looks like. Alchemist's Fire? We could put it by the gate, light it off with a burning arrow when those bandits are nearby. But that could set the post on fire, Oleg shouts, surprised. Well, maybe if we covered the walls with something to protect them. Alright, yes, I think it could work. I'll even shoot the arrow myself. I used to be pretty good with a bow back in my day. Can you answer a few more questions for me? I'm afraid they'll come back while we're chatting away, but what's to be done? Oleg mumbles. Tell me more about yourselves. Oleg shifts uncomfortably. Surely there are more important things to discuss. Well, alright. We're just honest people who came here from Restov. We fixed up the old fort to house travelers and give merchants a place to trade with the locals. We also deal with the occasional huntsman in the area. What does any of this matter? When those bandits come back, they'll either drain us dry or just kill us. I saw someone run out of the trading post. Do you know who it was? That must have been Bakken. He sells potions. He lives out in the forest like a hermit, but he comes here every day. He knows every tree and bush in the area and how they can help you. The Stag Lord's gang wants him to work for them. He lacks the courage to fight those bandits, but he won't just walk away from us. He has a good heart, even if he grumbles a lot, especially recently. Alright, I think that's everything. Let's have a look around. Oh, right, we have a level up to take care of too. We'll hold off on that for the moment. I'd like to set up the defenses first. This box contains various household and hunting tools. You notice some good steel traps in the box. Interesting. Well, I think we can certainly use those. That gives us 2 lines of defense, counting the Alchemist's Fire. Let's see what else we can find. There's some potatoes. We'll take those. Fighting bandits is hungry work.
All according to plan.
There's some disgusting slush in the pot. This seems to be tar. Okay, so we can spell this tar near the entrance to slow down the bandits, but it'll also slow down our guys. I could see that giving us an advantage if we had a range-heavy party, but we've got Valerie and Amiri in our lineup, so we'll just skip the tar for now. Ooh, rope. We can always use that. I don't think we can set off those traps, but let's try to avoid them just in case. Or we could walk right through them. That works too. At least we know it's safe to walk through them now. I think we can actually use that heavy crossbow. Let's shuffle a few items around real quick. First, let's get Amiri into that breastplate we got from Jamandi's armory. That'll boost her armor class by 2. We'll also have Lindsay swap out her light crossbow for that heavy crossbow we just found. In Kingmaker, they automatically shrink weapons to match the size of small wielders, so she can use every extra point of damage she can get. I know in the tabletop game it takes a full round to reload a heavy crossbow between each shot, but I don't think they've actually implemented that in Kingmaker. We'll just give it to her for now and see how she handles it in combat.
In due time.
Okay, at this point we just need to do some trading with Oleg, and we need to take care of these level ups. Let's go ahead and pause real quick while I look over my options, and we'll discuss what I'd like to do in just a moment. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I'm just wrapping up our trading, and I was hoping to buy a set of full plate for Valerie, but unfortunately, we're still about 500 gold short at the moment. Since we don't have a cleric yet, it's imperative that we have a solid tank on our front lines. That means full plate has to be our first big purchase, but once we've got that, we can start saving up for other things, like this bag of holding here. We'll just have to save our gold for now. Anyway, I took a look at all our options, and I've got a pretty good idea of what I'd like to do with our level up, so let's take care of that real quick. First of all, Silverleaf will be taking his 2nd level in Alchemist. That'll not only give him his first alchemical discovery, it'll also automatically unlock the Precise Bombs discovery, which completely removes the friendly fire from his bombs. He also gets Alchemical Weapon, which is an interesting ability, but not one that I use very often. It basically lets him apply the effects of a single vial of acid or alchemist's fire to his currently equipped weapon. It's not really a bad ability, but it does get a bit expensive and more than a little cumbersome if you want to use it on a regular basis. Next we have to choose our discovery, and this is a no-brainer. We're going right for infusion. That'll let Silverleaf use his potions on other characters, meaning that he'll be able to buff and heal his teammates. Then the rest of the decisions are pretty straightforward. We'll put 1 point into each skill he's already trained in. And he already has almost every first level spell, so we'll just take the one he still needs. Hopefully that won't be a problem when he hits level 3 and has to pick another first level spell. I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's it for Silverleaf. Next we've got Valerie, and obviously she'll be getting a level in Fighter. That gets her a bonus combat feat, as well as her first rank of Burst Barrier, which grants her a bonus to reflex saves as long as she's wielding a tower shield. Given that she's a tower shield specialist, that'll always be the case. Next we've got her skills, and this might seem a bit odd, but I'd like to put 2 points into Persuasion. We're going to need someone to handle the party diplomacy, and she's got a decent charisma. I'd also like to eventually give her the Cornigan Smash feat, which allows her to demoralize any opponent she hits in combat. Then I think we'll put her last point into nature lore. She'll never be great at it, but it'll at least make her more flexible when we're camping. We could put this into athletics instead, but let's be honest here. She's always going to be equipped with plate mail and a tower shield, so even with armor training, she's never going to have a very good athletics score. We'll just leave that to Amiri. Then we've got her feed, and this is a pretty straightforward choice. We want her to be our dedicated tank, so we're going for shield focus. Not only will that grant her a +1 bonus to armor class, but it also meets the prerequisites for feats like missile shield and greater shield focus, which we'll probably be taking further down the line. Now let's take a look at Amiri. Now, I got a lot of flack for multi-classing Amiri during the beta, so this time we'll be keeping her as a pure barbarian. That means she gains access to her first rank of Uncanny Dodge, which basically grants her limited resistance to certain types of sneak attacks. She also gets her first Rage Power, which is basically a specialized feat that only kicks in when her Berserker Rage is active. Then we've got her skills, and again, I'd like to put 2 points into Persuasion for Cornigan Smash. That might be overdoing it, but being able to demoralize every opponent you hit is pretty incredible. As for the rest of her skill points, we'll put 1 point into Perception, and then we'll put the other point into Athletics. Unlike Valerie, Amiri will be wearing much lighter armor, so she'll actually be able to use her Athletics skill. And that brings us to her Rage Power, which presents us with a choice of offense versus defense. Personally, I think her rage leaves her a little too vulnerable, so I'm leaning towards guarded stance, which will offset the armor class penalty. I am curious to see what you guys think though, so be sure to let me know in the comments below. That finally brings us to Lindsay, and this is probably where I'm going to get the most objections. We'll be keeping her as a bard, which gives her a new bard talent, as well as the well-versed ability, which is a minor but occasionally useful bonus. Now we have to take care of Lindsay's skills, and this is where things get a little unconventional. Basically, there are 2 dedicated rogues in the game, and I'm not currently planning on using either of them. Instead, we'll be letting Lindsay handle the locks and traps we encounter. We just need to make sure she's actually trained for that sort of thing. With that in mind, we'll be putting all of her points into Trickery, Mobility, and Perception. We'll also be setting aside points for Stealth starting at level 3. Of course, that does mean we'll be completely ignoring her actual bardic skills like Knowledge and Lore, but I figure Silverleaf has most of those covered himself, so we should be fine. We're also completely ignoring Persuasion because it would be a little too redundant. She would be slightly better at it than Valerie, but we're planning on recruiting some other characters who are even better at it in the future. Putting a point in Persuasion would help us in the short term, I just don't think it makes a good long-term investment. That brings us to Lindsay's bardic talent, and thankfully, that's a much easier decision. Lindsay's not really cut out for close combat, so she'll always be hanging back with a bow or crossbow. I think her best bet is point-blank shot, which grants her a +1 bonus to accuracy and damage as long as she's within 30 feet of her target. It also acts as the gateway feat for a lot of the other feats we might want to give her in the future, like Precise Shot or Rapid Shot. And that brings us to her spell, which is, again, a very easy decision. We'll be grabbing Hideous Laughter, which is hands down the best first-level bardic spell. It's one of the finest low-level crowd control spells in the game, potentially locking down any humanoid target for multiple rounds. It's also a better long-term investment than spells like Sleep or Hypnotize. Anyway, that takes care of our level ups, but I would like to get some feedback before I actually lock in those decisions. I've laid out the reasoning for the choices I've made, but I'm still pretty new to Pathfinder. I'm always open to better suggestions. That said, let's finish prepping for this siege, and then I think we'll be at a good stopping point for the episode. A frail, disheveled old man wearing a stained and tattered robe gives you a gloomy look. I'm Bakken, local herbalist. What brings you here? Tell me about yourself. What's there to tell? I'm an herbalist, make potions and sell them. Gather herbs, roots, berries. Bakken sighs. I live in the forest, live off the land. Since leaving Reston for these parts, I ended up a merchant here at Oleg and Svetlana's post. They let me in out of kindness, help me with things. They bring me water or firewood when it's cold, and the occasional barrel of honey. They're good people. We could use your help fighting the bandits. Where's this coming from? You want an old man like me to fight? Here, take this potion. Consider that my help in your fight. The bandits here bother you as much as Svetlana and Oleg, maybe more. Help us get rid of them for good. Bakken scratches his head, then hums to himself and puffs his chest out. Well, all right, I'll show those troublemakers. They'll learn better than to chase an old man around. Someone might even write up some verses about me, maybe even heroic ones. Lindsay gives you a worried glance, then turns to Bakken. Please be careful. Go ahead and help, but leave the heroics to us, you hear? Okay, I think that brings us to a pretty good stopping point. We'll pause things here for now, but we'll pick up next time with the siege on Oleg's trading post. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder Kingmaker, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube channel, the official wiki, or the original crowdfunding campaign over on Kickstarter. Links are in the description.